Hey everyone, I'm outside. I want to do a live outside here, but well, it won't work. And you can see lights in the background. If I turn it around over here, you see those lights over there? Maybe you don't see them properly. Those are lights of a show. Forget about the metro that passes by. There's I believe the Eurovision Song Festival is going on right now behind there. But I'm not going over there because I'm not interested in that. So I'm just here. It's almost past midnight, I believe. Oh, there's the moon over there also, in case you haven't seen it. Yes. But okay. So why am I here? It's quiet, there's somebody around, it's peaceful, and there is fresh night air, which I enjoy from time to time. So, okay. In this video, because I couldn't make it alive, because the subscription doesn't have enough strength to make a live of it. So that's why I'm uploading this. I want you to always consider the following. You have been raised by society. Society verified its claims to you through authority figures. And you were raised into believing that everything must be verified by an authority figure. That's why you tend to listen to experts. Now, an expert can be correct. For example, when it comes to cooking, you listen to a chef. When it comes to cars, you listen to a car mechanic. When it comes to medicine, you go to a medical professional. So, experts are good. But when it comes to daily life, you need to consider facts that would change your way of thinking are hidden from you. The same way a narcissist will withhold who they really are by presenting a pleasant image just to trick you into being involved with them, the same way society hides things from you to generate allegiance towards it. Look, if someone has a history as a sex offender, they may not want you to know that if they want to work in a school. So they will hide their history, even come up with a false identity just to be able to be accepted in a school. Because once you figure out their history, you may think, maybe I don't want you to work in this school. If a woman stayed with a man, she collaborated with the man, and she also allowed the man to abuse her children. It's only when she was kicked to the curb that she considers herself the victim of domestic violence. If you know the full facts, you wouldn't have listened to that woman, because you would see that she's a horrible monster that even endangered her own children just to get validation. Okay? But if she presents herself as a woman who's been buried for years, and her children suffered under his tyranny, if you only hear that, you'll get an image of a vulnerable damsel in distress. So, just to be clear, real women in danger exist, but often the stories you hear on TV are just fabricated to generate your sympathy. It's all to serve an agenda. Now, when it comes to your history of you as a people, there's a lot of hiding going on. And listen, let's keep it together. Let's keep it close. Even your parents won't tell you everything. Why? Because if your parents will tell you everything of how they messed up or the things that you support when they were younger that cannot be defended, you would be very comfortable around them. So if your parents won't tell you everything about them nor about themselves, and here's the thing, even you won't tell everything about you. If you had a very rough childhood where people treated you badly, you may not reveal this to people that you meet because they now have a leverage over you by knowing that there's some wound that afflicted you. If you're sure that those people are really for you, you may entrust that information to them later on. So even in daily life, we don't share everything. We keep some things hidden, which is practical. So if us in daily life keep things hidden for practical reasons, why is it so hard to believe or to just accept that authorities will hide some stuff from the past from you just to get an advantage over you? For example, if you grew up in El Salvador, which is a country in Latin America, more specific Central America, I've been there, okay? I traveled twice through the country. It's not a very big country. But there's quite some poverty over there and a lot of crime. At some point, El Salvador was the murder capital of the world for a moment. I believe Honduras took over after it. So there are a lot of gangs. MS-13, one of those international gangs, comes from El Salvador also. So if you grew up in El Salvador and you see a history of violence, human torture, criminal killings, you see unstable governments, you see corruption also in the church, and a lot of poverty, and decade after decade nothing improves, you're going to think, what type of country is this? And why are people tolerating this? Okay? And then if you would look at the facts, you go back into history and you figure out, before the 28th of November, 1821, we all had Spanish royal governors appointed by the King of Spain. Independence was declared in Guatemala City on the 5th of September 1821, but a lot of folks didn't accept it. And El Salvador, back then, the province of San Salvador, was a province of the Kingdom of Guatemala, which was a Spanish kingdom in Central America, that covered most of Central America. And then you figure out, hold on a minute, the Spanish governor, Pedro, what was his name again? I forgot it for now. But anyway, that guy, Pedro Parrilla, that was his name. Pedro Parrilla, this guy from French descent, became a Spanish general. He was the last governor, royal governor of San Salvador. He even tried to retain royal rule as much as possible because they didn't agree with the Declaration of Independence. And you realize that under Spanish governors, the area became a financial center. So San Salvador, that whole place, used to be a financial center in the world. Because it was trade coming in from, it was trade going on with Asia, with Europe, with Africa. So it was a very wealthy place. And even the natives that lived there benefited from it. And you also had the black population, many of them were slaves, but some retained their freedom, they also benefited from it. So they realized, hold on a minute. We are celebrating independence every year, but actually, since independence, things became worse. And they realized, hold on a minute, why didn't anyone tell me about this Pedro Parrilla? He was a very important figure, but I barely hear about him. I all hear about this Roman Catholic priest that took over, and under him, things went backwards. The Mexicans came in and took over, and then that looted the whole place, and since the Mexicans looted the place, things remained as they were till this day. Now, likely, the government of El Salvador will not tell you all about the history of what happened. They will want you to focus on independence and afterwards. And they won't even talk much about the Spanish era, because they need to explain how El Salvador went from one of the wealthiest Spanish provinces to a laughingstock of the world. And you grew up in that country, and you inherited all that mess of almost 2 centuries of degradation. Now, if you would know the whole history, you would realize very quickly that you're actually governed by a few criminal cartels that worship demons. And would you still be loyal to that country called El Salvador? No, you would not. But if you hear stories about, there was independence, we fought for our freedom, and we got it, but afterwards was civil war and things went wrong, now you still have some type of pride as a citizen of El Salvador, someone that comes from there. But the moment you know all of the historical facts, you know the whole context, you would think, I don't want to be loyal to this. So to secure your allegiance to the administration called the Republic of El Salvador, they will withhold practical information about your history from you to generate this loyalty towards them. That's just one example I gave to you. Okay? Just reflect on those historical narratives told to you. Many of them, you'll find a lot of weird inconsistencies in them. Now, I already spoke a little bit about Bolivar and how that whole story of Simon Bolivar, it kind of doesn't end up. Now, I'm just going to say the following about the Bolivar story, and then I'm continuing. The Spanish Empire was a maritime empire. Without the navy, they couldn't manage all those territories all over the earth. Hold on. You had no Panama Canal back then. Okay? And to travel to the Philippines, you had to either go to the Americas, then you cross over land to other ships, and then you continue to Asia, or you had to sail all around South America and go to the Philippines, which would take a long time, or you would sail all the way across Africa. So, the Spanish government kept contact with this territory, the Philippines, through ships that went to the Caribbean, to Central America. In Central America, they crossed over to ships at the other side of Central America or of Mexico, and it continued. That's how they did it. Now, why am I mentioning this? And what has this to do with Simon Bolivar, who has to do with South America? Let me explain. The logistics tell you that if Spain managed to retain the Philippines with its navy, which was far away, then it should have been able to maintain South America easily. And here's the thing, Spain had a lot of naval bases over there in South America, a lot of them. In the Caribbean, it was filled with marine bases of the Spanish Empire. So you mean to tell me that Spain had all those marine bases there at the Caribbean shores? Yet, one of the generals decided to go with some troops across land, cross over into the mountainous region near the capital of Nueva Granada. By the way, Bogota is located in a valley surrounded by mountains. That's where Bogota is located. Okay? So, you mean to tell me that Bolivar, who was chronically ill, who was traumatized, who several years before betrayed the revolution, and he managed to fight the Spaniards. He was a Spanish man himself in a mountainous forest just outside of the capital, Bogota. So you have all these naval bases at the Caribbean Sea, and you have soldiers coming fresh from Spain, and they go all the way across land, crossing the mountains near Bogota into a mountainous forest, and there you have a fight unto death. And then after fight unto death, both will rise into Bogota as the victor, and everyone just embraces it. Okay, what about all those naval bases? Oh, and here's the thing. If in September 1819, Bolivar had this great victory, so-called, but Ecuador, which was called the Kingdom of Quito back then, remained as firm Spanish territory till 1822, including Peru. And back then, you had no Panama Canal. So, if New Granada or Nueva Granada, which included what we today call Panama, which were two provinces, the province of Veraguas and the province of Panama. So you mean to tell me that the whole of Nueva Granada now fell under Bolivar's revolutionary regime? Yet the same revolutionary regime who fought unto death against the Spanish military in a mountainous forest? They ignored the naval bases all over the place. They allow the Spanish to remain in contact with their capital, San Francisco de Quito, in Quito? What? That logic doesn't add up. Okay? And that's one thing about that Bolivar story that really doesn't sit well. It doesn't sit well whatsoever. But there are many inconsistencies with it, so look into it yourself. But in this video, I want to point out another season in human history where I noticed some weird stuff. Look, pyromanias exist. People that want to start fires. Okay? But look at this. If you have a pyromania and it starts a fire, he wants to see the fire. That's a psychological trick. He wants to see the fire. He wants to see what the fire he started. So when other people come, are shocked, he will be there also. That's their psychology. That's why pyromanias are often captured. Now, if one pyromania starts a fire somewhere, okay, maybe one or two buildings are destroyed because it can happen. But if in a country thousands of buildings catch fire and are burned to the ground in big cities for a long period of time, then I'm going to think, something's off here. From 1749 till 1753 somewhere, there were many of those fires in Scandinavia and in Russia. And some in other places in Europe also. Why were there so many fires back then? An incident is an incident. But if you see a pattern of incidents, then you think, what are they hiding over here? Was there a big riot throughout Europe back then, in which people rioted and it escalated into fires all over the place? What are they hiding? And it's shortly after this period of having all those fires that you had the 7 Years' War. And the 7 Years' War kind of established Spanish dominance all over the world's economy. Spain was dominant already in the world's economy, but Spanish dominance became established back then. And France's influence decreased significantly. Now look, I look at the context. So you have all types of fires in Europe in 1749, to 1753. And in 1755, you had this big earthquake that destroyed Lisbon. Lisbon was the capital of the Portuguese Empire, which, besides the Spanish Empire, was quite important for trade worldwide. Okay? So yeah, that big tragedy happening in 1755. After all those fires that happened in Europe, and Lisbon never returned to its former glory. So you have all those fires and those natural disasters happening. And then you had the 7 Years' War. And after the 7 Years' War, when Britain increased its influence in North America, then suddenly, after 1763, you'll say 1.5 decades later, you had the so-called American Revolution. After it became known that in the British provinces at the Appalachian Mountains, they produce more tin than in Wales and England itself. So you had this economic shift that happens in tin production, and suddenly this is the American Revolution. And also at the same time, I mean a decade something before that, in some of those British provinces, slavery was not directly abolished, but it was hindered. So the slave owners suffered a lot. So when you put all those facts together, you'll think, there's some type of shift going on over here that people are not addressing. And I'm thinking, what are they hiding? Now, I haven't figured out directly what it is they're hiding about that area, about that time frame. But it seems as if there was this big crash about to happen in how they were managing the world's economy and the world's population back then. And it seems as if the royal houses of the world were all one big family. I'm talking about the Blue Blood House. I'm not talking about the African kings and some of those Asian kings and Native American chiefs. I don't talk about them. The Blue Blood houses who managed the world back then were one big family of German descent. They spoke German with one another, and internationally, they also spoke French in diplomatic papers. It seems as if they all came together and realized, we need to find a better way to deceive the masses. A better way. But in order for us to come up with this better way, we need to cause some chaos to distract the people. And there's also this earthquake that happened. Lisbon is destroyed. Hey, let's take advantage of that also. The people are not falling for it. Let's come up with another conflict and give people an outlet to escalate. And that happened. People got an outlet. They could escalate, and a lot of civilians took advantage of the 7 Years' War, which happened all over the earth. It was like a world war back then. So After all of that happened, now you had the shift in the world's economy. And briefly after that, you had riots in North America again, which led to the merger of the United States. And shortly after that, you also had the Haitian Revolution, in which blacks said enough with colonialism and all of that. And Napoleon's efforts in the early 19th century failed, and suddenly you had Spanish America collapsing. And you had those old revolutionary heroes in Latin America that are all controversial and their histories are inconsistent. And Spanish America today, Latin America, is haunted by poverty, crime, instability, and all of that. So when you look at history altogether, of the mid 18th century all the way to the early 19th century, you will clearly see that there's some type of shift that happens. Some type of hoax that they agreed upon. So I'm still trying to figure out what it is that they came up with. But if you have any ideas, please let me know. Please let me know if you have any ideas. Some people suggest that it was back then that the royals came up with a kind of a actor-based reality in which they would play multiple roles throughout their lifetime, just to lie to the masses. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But anyway, there's some cover-up going on, and I'm not inviting you to just flood the comment section with conspiracy theories on type of wild theories that's appealing. I just want you to know, what do you think they're hiding about the 1749 to 1753? If it's an actor-based reality thing that started over there, then that's it. If that's the fact, I'll accept it because it's just fact. But I'm on this, and I need your help with it. Well, that's it for now. Keep on agreeing with Christ, you all, and be at peace.